loss.
Yeah.
And then he plays Shyvana, they get a win. He plays Trundle, they get a win. It's almost anti what it was last year, where he's actually finding most of his success on the tank top lane.
Right. And Kha'Zix's actually being out, I'd say hurts EG. It's something that they flex between Snoopy and Inox in the top lane, so it kind of shortens their chances to pick. But having Helios in, we'll see what that pool provides. He does as well. Won't be combined with Lucian, as that's first picked up by Inox for all tech. Somebody we've been saying, a very strong player for the EG team right now. Elise gets locked in for no name with that Braum pick, as you said.
And I gotta say, the Braum thing is going to be really interesting here. He was picked 3 times in the European LCS, went 1-2. This is now his 2nd pick in the North American LCS, and he's so far 0-1, but he remains to be a 100% pick ban. And I think a lot of this has to do with teams are recognizing the power of Braum, but they haven't really practiced him. They weren't practicing
how to utilize the power.
They weren't practicing him in scrims before he was available, because that would be wasted scrim time. And they haven't been able to get a good handle on him in solo queue because he's banned so frequently. I think he's actually, if he remains like this balance-wise, follow a similar path of Lucian, where a lot of players are picking him and losing with him until they get really good at him, in which case they'll start winning more.
We'll see what Helios decides to pick up. And with that Jax on the board, I was going to say this could actually go to Inox. Snoopy wasn't somebody that took Lee Sin into the jungle, so this is kind of something that gives EG now another way to pick him up and put him in the game.
Yeah, and with the Renekton ban and the Kayle gone, they really tried to get rid of a lot of the adversaries Jax would face up there. So I wonder what LMQ is actually going to be bringing up against Jax to try and neutralize him.
This is almost the greatest part, right? Xiao Weisha hardly ever picks for himself. We'll leave that to round out the team, but he has kind of gone back and forth with what he will play, surprising us and putting smiles on some faces as well. Yeah, Rengar has gone through in these games. We saw Meteos playing it last time. No ban once again here coming into this game. The Caitlyn pickup for Vasily. Safe lane for him. He can punish if he wants to. We've seen a little bit of the aggression come out lately, but he's holding it off pretty well. Yeah,
the previous game that Vasily had on Caitlyn, he had much success. He's won 3-0-4 on it. Easy win there. And the Shyvana picked into the Jax, not the best matchup, but definitely the most comfortable thing for Ackerman to play in that lane.
Back on to the Half Dragon. Easy for him. Crepo loving his Morgana. He just throws out Dark Bindings all day, puts a smile on his face indeed, and something that Pole Belter had banned against him quite a bit here in the past few weeks has been Ziggs, but he gets it this time.
Yeah, a whole bunch of damage coming out from that EG team composition, and I think they were okay letting the Braum through, knowing Crepo's skill on Morgana. He can also Black Shield when the stun would proc, prevent the stun from Braum if he gets it on the right target, but still, it's still a dangerous move from him. You know, Crepo's played a lot of Braum. He was one of the players that was spamming him as much as possible in solo queue, so he does know the matchup.
So got some lane control coming in here for Evil Geniuses. Will that Nidalee be the pickup? It was almost, last week was like the influential week. There was a Kayle pick, and then Zion played Kayle. Maybe he was going to, but then the Nidalee pick, and then other people played Nidalee. It was almost like the week of influence, and just carries over now.
Nidalee's all right against Ziggs. It's not necessarily a lot of wave clear, but they can make up from that with Caitlyn, especially if Vasily builds a static shield. It actually opens up a pretty nice poke composition now with the Nidalee, knowing that the disengage and the defensive capabilities of Braum's support are actually tremendously powerful. So it's an LMQ poke comp.
And poke comp indeed, that Elise taken away from the Morgana composition, so one on either side. You won't get too much long-range crowd control. But they have what they need, it seems. A good, like you said, team to clear out the waves with Ziggs, but a team as well to peel for Altec, somebody we've kind of been putting a note on who has had some great games. His KDA is usually on the up and up, out of the laning phase, though. He's really good in the team fights.
And EG might not necessarily have the standard lanes. Morgana versus Braum, interesting matchup there. Dark Binding versus trying to shove the Braum in. A lot of powerful AD carry picks coming out, especially with the Caitlyn, more of a lane bully. So once again, that lane swap game is going to be very important in this one.
Gotta love it. While the teams are loading into the game, let's check out the fan vote over at LOLesports.com, where LMQ leads EG with an 82% of the vote.
Yeah, but remember, keep tweeting your picks to @LOLesports and use either the hashtag EGWin or LMQwin. And we'll continue to update the vote throughout the game. And Riv, something that we do need to touch on is Helios breaking out the Lee Sin. something EG hasn't really been able to use much in the jungle. Snoopy
Right.
did put a lot of practice into it, but he never was 100% comfortable with himself on that champion. So a new dynamic perhaps being brought into EG, as long as he can pull off plays with the knowledge of the rest of the team, knowing where it's coming from.
Right, and something that also falls into the consumable, having that sight ward out, or sight stone rather, early in the game is going to fall right into the hands of Lee Sin.
There's been so much success with double sight stones as of recently, and I'm going to continue to say this until I feel like it's proven wrong. Like the jungle currently, with the bonus experience being taken off the jungle monsters in the 4.9 patch, means the junglers, I feel like, are pushed a little bit back towards the vision control and fighting in lane, which is completely reliant upon ward. So double sightstone is really strong right now.
We'll see what happens. Altec and Helios, like we said, they were not within the first matchup when EG played LMQ, so they are now facing off against that top team in the league, along with their compadres as we jump into the game. You see Crepo, Pobelter, and Helios hip to hip as they make their way out of the base. Game 2 of the day underway.
And EG is one of the craftier teams early game most of the time. Even when no one was invading, EG was the team finding the windows to do so. This time, though, they're just kind of spreading out.
Trying to make some cheeky moves. Pobelter all the way up in mid, making sure he can see anybody dip into the side alleys there. I think Crepo's going to eat more than a spear coming into this one. He might have a cocoon coming at him. Very good setup here, actually, by LMQ. If EG even wanted to move on this, but it just doesn't look like they will. This line of scrimmage is going to detect the invade.
Yeah, Crepo sees him, drops ward as they run in, so they don't have complete control. They won't know, actually, if LMQ sticks around. But if they base it on trends, they'll know what LMQ's doing. They're going to run in here and then run out. I get reminded of this at the start of every LMQ game. They do the exact same opening every single time.
You think they're going to ward? Oh, he did.
They're going to ward deep and go back. If they're on blue side, they'll run to the red buff. If they're on red side, they'll also run to that red buff. And they'll take the same path, running through that exact brush when they come through. Eventually, someone is going to stop this. Eventually, a team is going to wait with 5 people and kill them there. This time, if they stay, it'll be the first time they've mixed something up after running in, as they're sweeping to make sure they're not seen, and they're going to steal this red.
Looks like a few may stay as LMQ, Moore, and Vasily head down towards the bottom lane. Looks like we are going to get that matchup, chat. We'll actually see how Morgana does versus Braum. A little bit of a wait, though, by Moore here to help out on the red buff. Maybe they may just come straight down for a gank. I don't know. Looks like they'll just go for the regular.
Yeah, so the invade first, coming back down, and I think the 2v2 lanes is the best result of all of this, the most exciting thing. Ackerman did burn his teleport, so if he gets harassed out early by Inox, it will be to his detriment. That should give Inox a bit of momentum. However, they know Lee Sin could be on the way. And Jungler's doing some really strange moves right now because they stole reds. And now they're... All right, they're just going straight to the other blues, but they both counter-jungled.
Yep.
So we'll have the delayed timers.
They have the knowledge. We'll see what happens. Ackerman versus Inox in that top lane. Last time Ackerman had this matchup, it was versus Inox on Jax, but he was a Lulu. Well, it was Inox on Jax, sorry, but it wasn't Jax. So we'll see if his Shyvana play can live up to the same. As we said, both junglers doing their own thing right now until they make their way into the lane. This matchup of Nidalee versus Ziggs. See a little bit of a push in. Xiao Zhao tries to keep himself off the turret, but I don't think it's going to work too well.
Early on, it's just Pobelter shoving and Xiao Zhao trying to keep up on CS. Good ward by Ackerman as well right here, making Helios waste some time. He does have to respect the Lee Sin there, though, so CS at your peril.
Good hold by Inox. Definitely waiting to freeze each CS down to the last bit of hope. Helios, a little bit of counter jungling to start from him as well, but this is the first time that really No Name's not taking to Helios.
Was swatted by that ward, so they were expecting a bit of counter jungling. No Name coming up more for the defensive than a counter aggression move. Gets to see his large golem taken away, but will prevent a dive.
Keep himself safe. See how much time Helios spends in this top lane if he can get to the other ones and get some things going. Only a few CS behind right now, so No Name's on the slightly better clip to go back and buy and already start again as Helios puts more time towards the top lane.
Some pretty nice CSing there by Ackerman at the turret when you consider he's been turtling this entire time and he's only down by 1 CS. But he does have to be very careful right now.
Holy macaroni. Very good pressure there. A few last hits. It's going to be the flash. The red buff's ticking. He's going to be having to go 1 for 1 here. Woo! But they do get the first blood to Inox. Somebody they need to have a carry.
And absolutely no hesitation by Helios there. Completely willing to trade that. He had doubles, but he doesn't give them to anyone else. And most importantly, they knew Ackerman's teleport was down. So he has to walk back to lane, and that actually gives a pretty big edge to Inox. So honestly, it's worth it.
He's crushing that top wave into the turret right now. Maybe be some help called up from No Name here. Back to the golems, which he has the timer on. We saw Helios and him both smite out just a few seconds ago. And with Inox and low mana, this is almost perfect timing. No Name's just going to get golems here, goes back down, and Inox comes out with first blood and a lead in that lane.
Yeah, so some really crazy aggression by Helios in his EG debut.
Yeah, definitely.
It's going to set him back a little bit because he lost those double buffs, but it's a matter of how well he can gank and support the lanes right now.
Well, there was a kill there, but still the second Doran's bought up and not too much CS lead given, if at all.
Yeah. And Helios coming in for another gank. No Name waiting in the wings. There is a big de-emphasis on jungling in this matchup. No Name, a very gank-heavy jungler. Helios with the same style over in Korea. Notice how neither of them upgraded their Hunter's Machete, and they both went for boots and a ward.
Still bottom lane fights going on all over. It looks like Helios made it out safe. That's Vasily with the pick going down. Krepo so close, goes for it, gets the heal. Summoner out of Vasily. A Q coming in from Moore. Does Vasily have the range on his built over Peacemaker Qs? They've got himself into a sticky situation. The auto attacks are back and forth, and they could not focus enough damage on just one member.
So 7 of the 8 Summoner spells burned in that encounter. Altec still with his flash. And that lane had actually been going pretty heavily to Vasily and Moore if we take a look at the CS. So counter aggression was requested there by EG, but they were unable to completely convert. The time away from Vasily, even though he picked up a Vamp Scepter and boots, should help Altec get a little bit of CS back.
See if Altec can make it work. Great harassment from Vasily in that lane as he's dodging all the piercing lights. Xiao now in Cougar form. Looks like he takes a bit of damage, and he's not even really worried about pushing Pobelter out of lane. He's staying safe, not really in kill mode right now. Yeah,
he is completely in survival mode, and he's doing a good job of it. Xiao, more studious CSer than any other mid laner in North America. And once again, the junglers crashing into each other. Helios in trouble.
There's the crowd control we were talking about, one after the other. Pobelter's back and forth. He can't decide if he can help or he can't help, and he might have gotten himself into a bad situation. He comes out at 75% HP.
Yeah, Helios still level 4 without ward coverage. A very dangerous brush to be starting in. And because the EG bottom lane went back, it allowed more opportunity to roam. More roams, much more than other supports do. And it is pretty much always in the mid lane to help out Xiao.
And ready to just have their way with the red buff as it spawns. Getting that timer down with the ward as well, so they can go and mess with Helios just a little bit more to set him behind. Hasn't really finished up much. And actually had a Spirit Stone in there, and then he sold it.
Still sitting on those 2 long swords.
Yeah, went backwards.
Yeah, would have just been a buyback.
Yep.
Ooh, Krepo without the binding.
Keeping it safe. Good CSing at the turret, but still down. Still down in that. Keeping himself healthy with a Vampiric Scepter. It's not a position they can really get themselves in. Get anything tight or scary. Vasily's ready to just act on that.
And one of the key things about this lane is how EG hasn't been able to shove LMQ in. So the fact that Vasily is keeping such good control of the wave is allowing Moore to take a lot more shots with his Braum Q. As soon as one of those lands, it means EG has to almost immediately retreat. Even though they can Black Shield the stun, it's just not enough. Yeah. And it's meaning a pretty big lane advantage for LMQ down bottom.
Slight leads, and I'd say almost each lane. A kill for Ackerman, helping him out quite a bit as he was behind in that first kill to Inox. Keep himself safe. It's not the first time he's been behind versus Jax and was able to come out on top.
Yeah.
2-1 as they go for the dragon, 8.5.
An actual 5-man dragon by LMQ. So Ackerman having surprisingly a pretty shoved in lane already.
Yep.
Wow. So he obviously had the gold from that kill he got on Helios and hasn't fallen far behind Inox as of yet. It's quite impressive considering the early gank kill.
It is interesting. LMQ has that ability to just turn on the switch and keep themselves at bay from having too much aggression. They know they can keep it without tunneling in lane.
Nice bind.
Watch out, Vasily. Very, very close. Good blocks from Moore, and you can see the defense that Braum brings to the lane there after what could have been a binding that would kill anybody.
Yeah, and Vasily's summoner spells will be off cooldown shortly. That lane going to get a little bit more aggressive for EG now that the Morgana ultimate is up. And the all-in potential of Lucian is much higher than Caitlyn if they are able to find a fight. So that lane turning, it's just the mid lane, I think, is a big edge to LMQ. The fact that he played so passive and then was still able to pick up a kill, it's going to be great for Nidalee as it transitions to the mid game.
And this is really Pobelter, his time to shine. He's been getting better and better throughout each game. So pushing out Xiao here would really put a staple on where his play has come from. Very, very aggressive from Helios once again.
No Name and Helios are on each other's tails. They're running into each other so many times. And honestly, No Name has been one step slightly ahead. Helios all in for that 1 kill up top, which was a bit of a trade despite it being a small advantage. And ever since then, No Name has been there waiting for him. But at the red buff, doing the pink ward stuff, again, they fight.
They pull in No Name. Whoa! A whole bunch of damage. Pobelter had the auto attack passive and the Q ready. Back and forth here. We're going tit for tat. Pretty much bloody nose on Inox.
Ackerman!
He's losing all of it. Ackerman dodges the last counter-strike. Helios now again in the fray. It's going to be Pobelter throwing out the Mega Inferno. The last few attacks, I figure Ackerman to go in on this one. I mean, rather, Helios. Ackerman goes down.
Well,
Pobelter.
Round 1 might have went to No Name, but round 2 definitely went to Helios right there, getting the return kill on No Name at the red buff, and also the fact that Pobelter got a kill and assist off of all that. This duel, while they were fighting down bottom, was pretty interesting. The short hop by Ackerman to make sure all the minions were gone, and then a really interesting move here where Ackerman was trying to bait out that counter-strike, does successfully, but the whole while, Inox is actually just waiting for his backup. Helios and Pobelter make it up there. Ackerman can't run back. Pobelter cuts him off with all of his skill shots, and they end up picking up the kill while Helios tanks the turret. A really nice move for a team that really has only been playing together for a week.
Right, the communication seems to just be, let's get more if we got a little bit. Something EG would shy away from and almost kind of counteract themselves when they went for it. No Name, able to get himself a little aggression.
Gotta be careful with that.
Really going for a lot of consideration on this pink ward, pulling down to Xiao makes it safe enough as they put some resources down in the mid lane. Xiao looking to push Pobelter back just a little bit. He's got the heals to do it safely. Very aggressive play by Pobelter. Ziggs shouldn't really be doing anything different if he can keep Xiao here in the mid lane. No rotations for him. The only chance they have to use that poke is at the objectives.
Yeah, and with that Ziggs in the mid lane being pretty even with Xiao CS-wise, and also picking up some roam kills because he had Xiao shoved in.
Yep.
This is really Pobelter's time to shine. It's the first split where he doesn't have the school obligations.
Yeah.
He's able to demote 100% of his time to League of Legends. So he's been shining quite well in most of their games. No Name. Oh, ooh. He was waiting for the point-blank stun. The ward just catching him out.
Nice CS. A bit of gold. So you see the Bloodthirster's almost finished up on the AD carries, and that's pretty much Altec kind of keeping with. Even though he doesn't have the same amount of gold in CS, he's got the items and the power that Lucian as a caster AD can put out. Could definitely push for Silly out of lane. We saw it just a few seconds ago in a good Dark Binding. Minute and 55 left on the Dragon as No Name starts to deny resources in the jungle, so they can get coverage on that and make the Dragon that much easier. Helios still to that top lane.
Yeah, if they can get Inox going, then LMQ could absolutely lose control of this game. So Helios spending a lot of time up here, and for the most part, it has been good time spent.
Yeah.
But Ackerman, while he's at his turret with his ultimate up, not too much he can do unless Ackerman wanders too far from home.
Inox's teleport is up. If they can get this turret down within the next minute and a half, they have an easy run down to the bottom lane. Inox will be able to teleport to the top, and Ackerman will kind of be left hanging. See what they work. Pobelter, pressure in the mid now with Helios. They are not afraid to continue showing themselves just for the added pressure, even if they're not going to get anything out of it.
Yeah, they're very much both about just having lane and game presence right now. Giving the blue buffs over again and again as well.
Definitely a different style for Evil Geniuses here. A lot of movement from Helios has kind of activated everything in the lanes that we're seeing. Inox and Ackerman again in the 1v1. These guys going face to face here. It looks like Inox has it. If he gets more empowers, that's going to be the hit. Goes for the flash. He already had the ult on. Didn't even need the rest of it. Comes up with a kill. Helios is still up there. He says, let's take this turret. We need more.
A little bit of overkill because Inox had that handled all by his lone self. Pobelter also threw the Mega Inferno bomb up there.
Wow.
Will they tango again at this red buff? Helios appears to be applying a lot of map pressure. The game really churning in the side of EG.
You know, something that Crepo said in his Facebook post on social media was that it might be not the time, not the meta to change when teams require so much strategy and coordination, but it looks like the addition here it was well practiced with Helios so far.
So far, so good. LMQ, a team tied for first in the standings
Yep.
with Dignitas. But EG, maybe they're going to make themselves a reputation of giant killers. They had a big win over Cloud9. They pull out wins when you kind of least expect it a lot of the time. And now, with the Helios edition,
Wow.
a lot of experience as well.
Overall, great
they might.
positioning play.
That would have been a heel bait by Xiao Xia.
Summoner heal up, Primal Surge ready, death to be had to the opposing team. Pobelter's Mega Inferno real close, so may have gone a little deeper if that was up. 21.8, 21.9, you can pretty much mark that off as even, except for the turret that EG has right now. They don't really have to head back to the top lane right now and start that focus in a different area. They're not really focusing on the turret too much. More of the attacks to push LMQ off of this and make what would be controlling the rest of the map that much easier.
EG has a lot of map pressure right now.
Yep.
They've already killed the top turret. Ziggs has been pushing in Italy this entire time. And Lucian has not lost his turret to the Caitlyn in the bottom lane. If LMQ loses these 3 turrets, they very well may lose control of the game, especially when you consider that EG has completed their double sightstone. So ward control and deep wards are not an issue for them.
Helios also rocking out with the sightstone, helping the team out. Good damage onto Moore as Pobelter is just harassing consistently with his blue buff. 157 to 142. We still haven't seen much in the team fight aspect from these AD carries or the bottom lanes in general, so still a lot to go through in this game.
And it's been standard laning phase. And it's actually really punished Ackerman. Ackerman had such a good bounce back week in week 3, playing champions other than Shyvana. Now he's back on Shyvana, and the persistent gank pressure put Jax a little bit ahead, and they're finally reaping the benefits of that right now. He's trapped trying to catch up and farm and become a later game team fight presence.
It just goes to show how much kind of an edge you really need to give Inox. Even with the kill kind of going back to Ackerman, it's really all he needed to get that lane going. Helios being the catalyst he might have needed to get things in motion.
And LMQ doesn't have long to get back from this one because they've lost their 3 outer turrets, and EG is doing those deep wards right here. You can see them pushing LMQ off every objective they can as quickly as possible. It's a matter of how many advantages they can take before LMQ can strike back.
This is definitely LMQ bringing out the scatter strategy, not something we've seen from them before. They're either kind of running in pairs or making sure they don't have to be in a position where they're running. Pink ward being walked by, so they are still getting a bit of information past the front line right now, but those aren't wards that they can control, and that's very different for LMQ.
Yeah, 3 sweepers, standard for LMQ. Gonna need a lot of pink wards as well if they want to try and get this back. It's so difficult to combat a double sightstone team if you're trying to get vision control back in a game. It's just too many wards to sweep, especially when the rest of the team is participating in the ward game as well.
Right.
And it's not just the 2 guys spamming sightstones.
You can see LMQ's wards even out in the middle of the lane, making sure they have knowledge of the first vision of where EG is and where the rotation might go. They want that 15 seconds ahead of time knowledge. See if they can get it. So far, they've seemed to slow things down. EG's now looking to where they can go. Things are getting a little slower.
Yeah, things definitely... it's all about whether EG can break the second wall or if LMQ can get fights back. But honestly, with 3 turrets down, if LMQ can keep the gold close, they're okay with having 3 turrets down. The way EG is going to extend the gold lead is by taking jungle buffs like this and also waiting for the dragon response, and once enough time has passed, Baron vision control. Those objectives aren't up right now, so LMQ is still surviving.
Short throw by Pobelter, keeping himself safe. Zig's positioning on his skills have been pretty crazy this game to move Xiao out of lane. 0-1 or 1-0-0 and 1-0-1 for both those 2 in the mid lane, but Xiao, as usual, 20 CS ahead of his opponent. We'll see if he can get into any type of carry positions. He hasn't really been able to make those spears work as he was last week at all.
No, not the same Nidalee game as of yet. This is not the 14-0-5 he had against Complexity, that's for sure.
Still.
That one, though.
There we go.
Still hurts.
I was going to say, the EG pressure is really not being pushed back on. They're not answering from LMQ side, but finally they start to group with themselves. Top lane is still Ackerman and Inox, so if this fight goes awry, a push is going to come from either side here.
All about buff control right now and how much poke LMQ can get while they're doing this blue buff. It looks like LMQ has gotten a lot of the control back, but Xiao is out of mana, so this blue buff is really important. EG has kind of outlasted it, and now they go.
That's a hit onto Xiao. The heals try to come in. More in the front line, kind of taking the brunt force of damage there. Helios wait for his kill to come down from the sky. He's going to get a shot on Sonic Wave. It's going to be Braum going down. One more flash for a flash as he finishes off the kick in the cocoon. And they get the blue. If EG can pressure LMQ that much for their own blue, LMQ is definitely losing some ground.
Losing so much control, and the binding at just the right time for EG, and the teleport at an even better time for Inox, who cleaned them up as they were trying to run away. 2 for 0, and the buff control. A great win for EG.
Definitely a new team. What?
He did back on a pink board.
He didn't see it. It was under his dress.
Yeah.
It's fine. 20 minutes on the clock. 6-2. Maybe too much adrenaline going through Evil Geniuses right now. And
well, he backed on his own pink board. It's fine.
Yeah.
Just a confusing little series of events right there. But this initiation by EG is huge. Even though Moore could block a bit with his shield, it just wasn't enough to counteract it. The fact that Xiao is out of mana means this fight was pretty much a 4v5. And Helios, the continual battle with No Name. They just keep going back and forth. Korean jungler versus Chinese jungler. Right now, Helios is winning it.
Very strong play. 67-63, even with all the counter jungling that Helios has been doing, but it's been getting the lanes going, being the utility that they need in the vision all around the map, like we said, with double Sightstone to keep it going. His second buy becomes a Hex Drinker as well. You can just mitigate everything, stay in the fights, and keep it going. Yeah,
this is the same situation as the blue buff, but with a more enticing prize, basically. EG might actually, because they have the 3-chart advantage, keep pressing up the mid lane and try and cut LMQ off a little bit since they do hold the team fight advantage. It's just a matter of how many spears can Xiao land while EG is playing this game. If it's less than...
There we go.
I feel like if it's fewer than 2, then EG is going to take the Dragon and contest it. But if he keeps landing them again and again, we might see LMQ turn some advantage.
More pink wards going out. EG for a second was walking over a lot of wards, many unused sweepers right now. So they may be getting a little lax in the control they have in this game. Right now, great control and a beautiful defensive line on Dragon, just poking away at LMQ.
And just like Xiao can throw Nidalee spears, Pobelter can throw bouncing bombs. And while the individual impact doesn't seem as great, the frequency is much higher. So LMQ, not many options right there. Could not play the corridor game with EG right there, and they had to forfeit the Dragon.
That's exactly what Xiao wanted. We saw how hard it was for him to even throw spears at the blue buff. They don't have the vision to be doing this, and that makes it harder to hit the max range spears that he was hitting the other day when they were ahead of the game. Being pushed back more in the mid lane as well to soak up some experience. See what LMQ can have now as they get pushed back into their base. Not a single turret has been taken in 22 minutes on EG's side.
Yeah, and it's amazing when you consider they were against a Caitlyn lane and getting shoved pretty far back early on. They were able to keep that turret alive.
Something Vasily is very well known for. And Altec and Krepo were both having a hard time down there. They really came out on top of that lane. Vasily, or rather Altec now catching up in that CS, as well as LMQ is kind of fending and fighting for all the CS in each lane together. You're not going to get as much when everybody wants it.
Crazy, crazy games this week. What a debut it would be for Helios if he can join EG while they're tied for last and then help them to victory against a team that is tied for first in the North American LCS. Obviously, it's not just Helios. The rest of EG is playing quite well. Inox great in the top lane. Pobelter has went shot for shot with Xiao. Honestly, the games that Xiao has struggled have been against Ziggs. Shifter did a number on him with Ziggs as well.
Good point.
Something about Xiao getting repetitively pushed into turret limits his ability to impact the game. He becomes just a laner, and he loses a lot of his threat. So, great pick against Xiao for sure.
Definitely not the usual solo person to take out anybody they want during a split push. We would kind of see him taking a lane all to himself and fighting off anybody that would approach. Turret's going to go down now in the bottom lane. The second tier falls with practically 0 rebuttal. I'm going to say that as they all make their way there, and they're able to stop
shot left. They'll probably get it on the next go-round because they have a split push happening right now. Inox is too strong for Ackerman to take 1v1. And they are absolutely just abusing their strength right now. EG has all the cards.
And there's multiple things they can do. They can decide to keep Pobelter in mid. That bottom turret can be taken by them if they want. Very dangerous to hold, especially with EG this far ahead. But right now, they're happy kind of spreading LMQ out thin, getting what they want. A lot of pings going down as EG's formulating a fight they feel they're going to get.
The blue buff game is about to happen again, it seems like. They're doing a lot of pings, trying to get a lot of ward control. And Pobelter's a little bit lower on mana this time. LMQ is still holding with 3 turrets. But the pressure is mounting on LMQ. The stall can only go for so long. Blue buff's up.
Back to the fight. We'll see where spears come out of Xiao. They're going to be on the left side here. They have a lot better vision than they did last time. It's still not a lot, but it looks like it will be enough to at least stave off the initial take of the blue buff. That pink ward on their own side starting to pay off a little bit.
Yeah, well, they burst it down as quickly as possible. They didn't care who it went to. It ends up going to Vasily, so it won't help the spear spam of Xiao. But it will at least give them the experience of the blue buff. And it's still only a 3,000 gold lead.
Right.
So, actually, it appears like EG's going to have to try a different round, a different type of approach.
I mean, this is not the first time we've seen LMQ really challenged, but it will be interesting to see how they pull themselves out of this. 0 map control in turrets, up to 25 minutes in the game. Once they get to it, by the time they're that rich, if they really do, it's going to be fast falling and a very high influx of gold. So this could swing quite quick.
And one thing that's really going to hurt LMQ, though, is how incredibly starved No Name is.
That's true.
He's sitting on just his cooldown boots and the Spirit of the Ancient Golem. He's 1,500 gold behind Helios. Well, now it's 1,200 after a little bit of jungling. But just the fact he's at 5,600 gold, Crepo's at 5,600 gold. No Name is a Sightstone-less support right now, with a decently length stun. That's about what he brings into a team fight right now. So all of the emphasis is really on Xiao and his ability to land spears with that death cap.
And that's the guy who's your captain, right? No Name has been captain for the multiple teams that he was previously before LMQ as well. So your shot caller, when they're not having a good day, things tend to get a little more quiet sometimes.
And Helios knows all about what happens when a supportive-style jungler's team falls behind.
Right.
Helios pretty much always would get the blame whenever his teams would fall behind because he'd have Flame in the top lane, you know, freezing a lane for 35 minutes and getting 300 CS, whereas Helios wasn't getting any farm, and that's kind of what LMQ's trying to do right now. They've been trying to keep their farm up in all the lanes. 303 CS for Xiao, but that's while No Name has been getting his jungle stolen away. It's while he's been trying to keep up with wards here and there, but just not having that much. Goes back to base, buys even more wards. And
tries to get a little HP under his belt, stay alive a little longer in these fights, hopefully, and make some plays with Repel. It's going to be quite tough. Very big jump in damage. That Triforce finished up along with a Bloodthirster, but you got to watch out for headshot procs as well. Let's see if Vasily can make an impact. We don't really have too much armor on either side, so the AD carries, once they do get into the fights finally, we haven't seen too much of it, and we make a very big impact. Still waiting on that first turret. Kind of mind-blowing to think of here. Evil Geniuses in last place to come out this strong. Like you said, not even just Helios, but as a team with a new team against LMQ.
Yeah, it's really quite impressive thus far, but they still haven't closed it. Yes, they have the Jacks and the Ziggs, and their team fight at the moment seems so strong, but they have just gotten that 4th turret. They haven't done too much more beyond that. And they're not necessarily shutting down the farm of LMQ. The gold lead has grown from 3,000 to 4,000 over about the last 7 minutes, so not big moves being made by EG.
And we see what just happened in the top lane. Inox isn't so much in the face of Ackerman. He kind of gave up on that fight there. In the big picture of things in a fight, that's going to happen the same way. So that scaling is starting to come into play, and Inox may have not gotten there fast enough.
Yeah, the time of the game and the dragon will help, though. As the game gets longer and longer, the dragon is worth more based on the average level. So that dragon increases the gold lead up to 5,000.
Definitely a test to LMQ to see what they can do here. Evil Geniuses is playing spot on this game. Whenever they play it slow, it's because they needed to, and they've quickly taken something after. So far now, it's the top turret left on the outside. Last one before the inhibitor turrets, and sub 30 minutes. EG could be looking at that. Well, I guess they have the middle one too. Everybody's covering it with the coins.
Yeah, and this is honestly going to be a pretty big question without Snoopy on the team. Because Crepo and Snoopy have been a shot-calling duo for so long. And even though EG has been losing a lot of games, when they did have early and mid-game leads, they were one of the best teams at closing. They could starve the map and find good ways of winning the game. Right now, even though Helios' instincts and maybe his early game communication worked great with Lee Sin to get them into this position. Will it also allow them to close?
I don't know, you can see where the game is happening right now. There is not a single ward on Evil Genius's side of the map. Everything's going on LMQ's side of the court. Evil Geniuses is ready to start living there as well. They bring over the bunk beds, and they're setting up shop. Pobelter has stayed in mid pretty much the entire game, besides the few roams he had to help out Helios to the top lane and Inox. Looks like it's paying off for him so well, but as we've been saying, this is kind of now stopping. Everything's slowing down. Does EG actually have something in mind for their next move? Because we're seeing LMQ only get bigger right now.
Yeah. LMQ trying their best to farm up. They're actually going for an Infinity Edge. Third item on Vasily instead of that last wisp because not much armor is being built by EG.
Right.
They're hoping, at this point I feel like LMQ's in a mode where they're hoping for 6-item Caitlyn and a 5 or 6 item Nidalee where a spear can completely change the game and just hope that EG doesn't find a way of controlling Baron and executing turret dives.
Could be something finally in middle. EG putting a few more numbers than usual here. No Lich Bane or anything yet on Pobelter because there hasn't been a huge surge of gold for anybody. None of those items to start crushing down turrets. And really, Altec, I guess Inox will be able to use the Triforce as well once they get there, but they're getting pushed off quite handily now by LMQ. Taken to the jungle. Might start finally seeing that Baron attempt come up. It should be tough with that Nidalee. Very
It's going to be
tough.
real tough. It's all about whether they can sweep enough and get enough pink wards down where LMQ is, because LMQ doesn't really have an adequate front line as of yet. Ackerman still needs to farm a bit more as well on Braum. Will want to be that front line, but he's got to be incredibly careful, because once he's in these team fights, and there'd be no getting back from a really powerful Jax who's trying to do these split pushes. I'm actually a little surprised EG hasn't. Well, there's the first catch, and the shield in the wrong direction.
More. He's going to be all right. A few flub ups back and forth by both teams, not hitting the exact amount of damage or safety they needed, but it looks like they back off. Need a little bit of medic care for a few members, but we're safe for now. 31 minutes in, both teams kind of getting an idea now of how much damage they can do to each other.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Surprising. That's like the second backwards shield we've seen on Braum in the 2 games for North American supports today. It's very clear that they're not as practiced on Braum as they will be in the future. They are still making a lot of mechanical mistakes on him early on. So they're picking him for the power and for the ban perception right now, but they clearly have not practiced him.
Yeah. It's different from laning to the fighting, and that's what you're seeing. 2 assists only for the 80 carries. Not much play coming out of Altec or Vasily this game.
Yeah, it has been a very long time since the last fight. So EG not being able to find any big moves. They're also content farming up. I feel like they know they have the Jax, they know they have the Ziggs.
Yeah.
That as far as team fights go, are going to be real powerful.
Almost getting that Randuin's built up as well. Blade of the Rune King, Negatron Cloak. Randuin's Omen finally finished onto Ackerman as they all piece things together. The Void Staff, 3rd item finished on both of your AP carries in mid. But the 60 CS lead from Xiao as he just soaks up the jungle. Really, like you said, is telling the story that LMQ just wants this super duper late game. It's even Azanya's coming in next for Xiao.
Jeez, 383 CS. And now the Baron happening, but that's a new ward that many people have to place for. Great placement of it, and Ackerman actually jumps in. He's a little ahead of the pack.
Yeah, but he's going to say, follow me. This is the way. Baron is not what you want, and eat this Randuin's. And he's going to get away safely.
Wow.
Very well played.
This is a chaotic
the
fight
whole
now.
team wants it, and it looks like we get the ward coverage control. Moore says, let me sneak in here, clear some wards. LMQ kind of just played a chess game. They put pieces ahead of time right there. Got it to work out.
So many teams are putting the pink ward inside the pit, which means that corridor right outside where people are shooting the Baron from also needs to be swept. I've seen that ward placed by a lot of top teams, and that was a great moment by LMQ to avoid the Baron sneak. And actually, they get their first turn of the game out of it.
Very good positional play around the map, kind of working inside the minds of Evil Geniuses on that one. They close the gold gap. They completely thwart off Baron, using a few summoner spells. That's better than having Baron on Evil Geniuses, especially with their lead right now. Great plays.
Yeah, still not many kills in the last long while. Infinity Edge was completed by Vasily. At the same time with the Warden's Mail by Inox. It's only a matter of time. The thing is, when the next set of kills happens, there's going to be a huge amount of objectives taken afterwards. People are getting so much AD, so many levels, and such long death timers that the next fight could very well decide the game, and that's not the best position to be in as EG because they've held the edge for quite some time. It's nice to have a bit more breathing room. Oh my!
Oh! The dash. I was standing too close there. I got scared. Sometimes it'll still hit you.
Xiao did that.
Good hit onto Pobelter as well. He's the guy that cannot get himself healed back up. Alltech taking a shot and go get himself some Bloodthirster stacks. Well, not stacks, but healing back together.
And so they know that Pobelter got sent back to base, so LMQ could actually pick up this dragon. They're really finding crafty ways to get themselves back in this one.
Took them a while. They also don't really even have map control on that side of the map. That was done without really having any wards, just good spears that connected. That's all you need. That Infinity Edge is also finished, so impact power is going to come in from these fights for LMQ now. Also have the Locket of the Iron Solari on Moore. They can deny a good amount of damage coming from Pobelter's Mega Inferno if they want to right off the bat, and really changes your mind when you miscalculate the amount of damage being done to somebody. Yeah. Really throw off the fight.
5th turret goes down for LMQ, making their turtle going to be even more difficult, especially because it's the turret they need up to defend the Baron area. LMQ made the call very long ago that they want this game to stall very, very late, and they've done quite a lot of good work to do so, but it's getting harder and harder to stall because EG is continuing to power up.
They don't have a super initiation either. Braum has it long re-engaged, but everybody has to be able to follow it up.
They knew that Inox was bottom lane without teleport, so they wanted to fight there. Yeah. But because they couldn't find a clean initiation, the time is continuing to tick, and Ackerman has to go defend that lane.
That's always the moment you sweat. The kite, not fight right now. Leave your team all by 4 and no way to get there, and you just hope they can do their best to stay out of danger. Alltech taking a shot there, but they're getting what they need. Good board clearing on both sides, and sweepers being used back and forth.
Yeah, upgraded sweeper on No Name as well, so even more supportive. Right now, still not building up any items. A Ruby Sightstone by Helios. These guys are playing great ward battles, and the 6th turret finally goes down.
Wow. Alltech took a nice shot to the face there. 0-0-2, but he's really the one, once on the front line, getting the damage on those turrets. Also taking the spears. Good hands. Hopefully you can dodge those next time. Helios consistently taking out the jungle. I mean, it's easy for him now. They pretty much have all this control, but he has not stopped throughout the entire game, denying jungle.
And now, with the 6 turrets down, EG is probably going to try another round of this Baron game. Wanting to stop LMQ from getting things. The binding actually misses more. This is a little dangerous.
Both of them closed their eyes for that one and just got to throw them out. Missing on each side. 6K is the lead, and we actually get a missed shot on the ace in the hole. It doesn't go off. Loss of vision. Vasily still has it up for the next fight, looking to actually build up on his last Whisper.
I wonder if LMQ forces this, because they either have to go to back to base right now to stop Jax, or they'd have to go and do the Baron. At the moment, they're making the call though back. Ackerman, better hope he doesn't get interrupted.
And Knox doing what he can.
No home guard boots, so this turret might take a bit of damage. He's going to run away. He could have done a bit of damage.
Almost a little bit. They actually have big wave to take into consideration down there. Alltech pushing in the mid lane. This is going to be Vasily on the top side. He actually doesn't have too much farm to get out of that one, so hopefully it's not time wasted to just back and run through the jungle. He will be seen here by that last ward just in front of the base, so they know where the AD carry is. Vasily's in the back, and they know now they're moving towards Baron.
It's a random question that we don't have the answer to, but I'm hoping to find the answer later. I wonder what the record is for most CS in a game without a kill, assist, or death. Because Vasily's getting there. 380 CS without
got the time
playing any PvP at the time of the game.
Alltech's right on his heels, too.
Yeah. He's got the 2 assists, though.
That's true.
So he's qualified. Goal lead is extended a little bit from EG as well. With the Zhonya's completed for Xiao, it's very important. I'm actually a little surprised Helios hasn't went for an Aegis Legion, but he needs the Randwins just because Vasily is getting so big. So they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. If they don't build the Aegis, the Spears hit them harder. They don't build the Randwins, Vasily shreds them.
And he's just got his last Whisper as well, so you're only doing so much, even though you can finish up your items, because they're doing it first. 6-1 in turrets. We still have to remember how much map control EG had in their surge, but as well as how LMQ has been able to kind of thwart off any of their inhibitor turrets falling, and kind of keeps edging back into the game. The gold keeps falling out. They managed to shrink it down to about 4,000. Now we're back about 5,000 and creeping up again. So we'll
yeah.
see if EG can use this momentum to get into the base this time. Minute and 30 on Dragon.
It's crazy. The heritage of this EG team from COG EU used to play these really slow games where they'd have low amounts of kills. Krepo, the only guy that would remember their Season 2 World Playoffs performance where they had an incredibly, incredibly slow game focused around the Baron. Having it again right now.
I really a bit of a dragon.
I really do wonder how Inox is going to become involved, because so much of it's going to be about whether Jax can make it into a fight at this point. He's trying to do this split push, but Ackerman has built enough armor that he can handle him seemingly on his own. Usually Jax cannot be tamed that easily by a split pusher, but Ackerman stayed powerful enough, and then there's been enough resources helped towards him. I really do feel like EG hasn't been able to pull the trigger. They've had about the last 15 minutes to do so, and it just keeps getting delayed again and again.
Right.
And LMQ's hitting those really important items where if they land one spear, now EG has to go immediately black. They do not have the sustain to stop it, and the spear is even more threatening. And if they engage, Vasili's powerful enough to maybe fight them off. So EG needs to find a big team fight because they're kind of running out of time.
We saw what they tried to do at Baron, just the teleport Ackerman. Kind of shook them off of it, and maybe shook, you know, their mentality of the game. They're kind of figuring they have the chance, and LMQ is not afraid to force these fights now, as they were on the back foot earlier. This blue buff has been a huge contention the entire game. The shot goes out. That's all Tex, as he puts down the Ardent Blaze and a Piercing Light to grab that for himself.
I mean, the blue buff is kind of the fight before the big fight at that point. It's crazy that they contest that so much, yet Baron is just sitting there right now.
LMQ knows they're pretty much not going to get EG to walk up there and give Xiao spears to throw at. So they got to do something. They got to force it, if anything. It looks like
their time for ward control. They kill Baron ridiculously quick. A Nidalee heal onto Vasili with his headshots, they can kill it in a couple seconds. But they're opting not to because EG is pushing up the side lanes. They could have actually gotten that Baron, but it would have cost him some inhibitor turrets.
Got teleport up, Inox to the bottom lane. EG again trying to put themselves in the driver's seat, exactly what they need, and they'll be minus a no-name on LMQ's side, but he actually spiders his way back quite quickly. So scratch the minus a no-name.
Another record we might be approaching is time in the mid-game without a kill.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we're nearing 25 minutes of neither team having a kill or assist. 481 CS onto Xiao, 405 onto Vasili. These guys absolutely in the stall game. EG slowly creeping ahead of them. They figure with the Jax and the Ziggs, when the team fights happen, they'll be good. And they're starting to build up their MR right now. Their magic resistance and Nidalee spears won't hit them as hard. Xiao is pretty much item capped at this point.
Yeah.
He went with the Haunting Guise as the last proponent of his item build. That flat magic penetration does increase the percentage of his damage fairly greatly, more so than another AP item would at this point, especially on low magic resist targets.
Yeah. Becomes my favorite part of the game when you see players really have to play beyond the champion. How good are their skills once you reach the max potential of the champion? We're about to see that in this game. 42 minutes in, Xiao 5 CS away from 500 on the mark. 8,000 gold. In the lead is Evil Geniuses. Credit to LMQ for somehow staying alive. A credit to EG for coming out very strong in this game. But where do both teams stand now? It kind of seems like they're at a stalemate.
Jeez.
Neither can find their way across the bridge.
It's really crazy. 384 armor onto Ackerman, so it's tough for Inox to fight through that, especially with the Thornmail.
Yeah.
It's a 700-point heal on Xiao, so if they do take a bouncing bomb, he can just pop it right back up. He doesn't have the blue buff, though, so he's got to be... He has to show some restraint with the number of spears he can throw out. I feel like EG should have gone earlier to the Baron to force something. Even though they still hold an edge in this game, the later they go, the more punishing a potential mistake will be. And that's exactly the type of game LMQ wants to turn this into. They want to make it, since they were behind, a one-and-done game.
Right.
If they can find an opening, they want that opening to be a victory. And they've stalled long enough to make that a realistic possibility.
Definitely have the damage. We're going to see Vasili backing here, possibly having enough money for the Guardian Angel, or he would have just walked to mid if he didn't. 427 to 495, and those actually just puts the Spectral's Cowl together as he gets his way there for Banshees. See what these teams can keep doing to tango at this Baron pit. EG kind of setting up here. LMQ more with a great dodge. Whoa, I think he got knocked with an Infinity Edge plus a bomb there from Pobelter. A lot of damage onto EG they did not want to take.
Inox is on the turret. He just popped his ultimate, and he's just tanking up Ackerman, exactly what you do against a heavily armored Shyvana.
This is going to be fantastic. Having that open inhibitor, finally opening up a lane that might have super minions if they can put the power there. Teleports are up for both top laners. That Dragon's Descent is down, so if Inox wants to teleport, he can get himself there without any problem. Looks like they are just going to try to hold this one off. The spears and the bomb game now to be played.
LMQ can't hold that any longer with an open inhibitor. It's very clear they have no one who can deal with Inox, so they just have to go. A Scrying Orb comes in from Altec as they lose vision at just the right time. This is fantastic move by EG.
We got to consider how much damage Moore took at the start of that, and then Helios as well. They don't have the armor they need to be in these fights right now.
They can kill this really
but
fast,
they
though.
are going for Baron. 44-53 in the game. A minute and a half left on Dragon, but eyes are right now on the big prize. Baron is down, free stats, all the gold. Lots of love coming in from the LMQ fans, and they have somehow gotten themselves out of the base after at least 20 minutes of turtling and have just taken Baron.
Yes, but they have an exposed inhibitor at that point. That was obviously the Caitlyn plus Nidalee extreme Baron speed, getting the headshots up even faster.
Credit to Altec for clipping out Xiao, 529 to 517 now. These guys are going absolutely crazy in this game, and still the 80 carries have kind of just been on the back line. We haven't even heard from them this game. We'll see what happens. Inox and the rest of the team again over to the blue. That went over either Pobelter again or
Pobelter did not get that one, but
so
Altec
did. Again. Pobelter already had one.
Altec nearing his 6 items. He's got enough gold to finish his Banshee's Veil if he goes back to base. The Silly does not yet. But honestly, what a crazy day already after the LCS. It's like
just kind of.
The new acquisitions are working out well. Loco Doku is the coach of TSM.
Right.
Immediate improvement. And Helios, especially early game, giving EG this edge against LMQ. But the question is, can they convert now? 5 people on LMQ with the Jack split pushing. Ackerman can't stop him. It's basically a matter of how fast they can push, because with the minion wave, if Inox kills that inhibitor, he could kill the Nexus as well if LMQ stopped. This is crazy aggressive.
Oh my gosh, Moore throwing out the shield and the ultimate. Pobelter gets hit up. He gets obliterated in the fight. LMQ going a little hard and back to their ways of dying.
Inox could end the game on his own if EG can just stop the backs. This is ridiculous.
Inox going towards the turrets. He has minions right next to him. It's going to be a base race down. Inox going for the base. It's going to be a base race on both sides. LMQ versus Evil Geniuses. Inox all by himself. Turret for turret. He flashes for the second. LMQ's doing what they can. Why did he stop? He stopped. They cannot be stopped on that side. And it is going to be LMQ with 2 members still. Just grabbing their heads as they win the game. EG doesn't even know what happened.
Neither do I. I don't think anybody knows what just happened right there. In EU and in North America, we saw some absurd base races. There was so much power on the Nidalee Caitlyn as far as turret sieging by the end of that game that there was nothing EG could do once Pobelter went down. With Pobelter and Jax gone, got nearly enough damage to take them down. They powered through, Inox wasted time with the teleport, and that did it.
What a finish to an extended game. Completely extended. EG should have closed this out for quite some time.
Yep.
And LMQ, with the knowledge that they were so far behind, calculating the time they needed to turtle, which was quite a bit of time. I don't think any team has been that patient before to find their window.
One of the things about LMQ trying to stall this game out longer and longer was that if EG made a mistake, LMQ would want that mistake to be the end of the game. And that wasn't even necessarily a huge mistake by EG. That was just a very decisive move by LMQ, finding the most creative of ways to win that game. 3 kills. The entire 47-minute game for LMQ. But they pick up the victory.
We've seen in the LCS